All right. Welcome to Topline, everybody. We're talking about, I used ChatGPT to build a packing list for my trip to Europe. And we were looking at the sexy pictures it generated. And Asad said,
so there's this Reddit community where guys go and they'll post a picture of themselves and they'll ask for advice on how to look better. Because for guys, it's really hard, right? Like, unless you have people in your life that are super stylish and help you, it's really hard. You're shooting in the dark. So they posted that. And you would imagine a dude posting a picture and saying, how do I make my skin better or how do I dress better on Reddit just gets killed. And yes, they get killed a little bit, but people genuinely come and help. So this guy on Reddit, I listened to this recently. He saw this. He's like, this is interesting. So he created an app out of it. And the app is really simple. You pay a subscription, you join, and every day it tells you how to get a little bit better. So you start with a picture of your face. It's like start, using moisturizer and use eye cream. And here's some clothes that you should consider. And this app is now on a $6 million run rate because it's helping dudes look a little bit better. Yeah.
And the CEO of that app is Asad Zaman.
Yeah! I'll buy a Ferrari from this.
Welcome to Topline, the podcast for the best founders, operators, and investors in B2B tech. Every week, AJ Bruno, Asad Zaman, and me, Sam Jacobs, will break down what's important for you to know to be the most well-informed professionals in the market.
This episode of Topline was brought to you by Aircall, the business communications intelligence platform. With Aircall, you can bring your CRM and help desk together with your phone, chat, and messaging system to save time and resources on customer communications, admin, and reporting. To deliver even better customer service, visit Aircall, that's AIRCALL.io.
Asad's a paid influencer of that app.
I would love to be the owner of that app. I think it's so sweet.
I have my soon-to-be ex has a background in styling, and she helped me tremendously. And I always felt like that should be a part of Pavilion, is because I see so many people show up to events. I'm like, why are you wearing pleated khakis? Your suit does not fit, your clothes don't fit. And it's not that hard actually to look reasonably good. One of the key things she taught me is which I never thought of, is just match your color palette. And when in doubt, just be monochromatic. Just have the same color t-shirt roughly as your pants. And I was like, oh my God, this is genius.
I have a funny story about that. So when I was 23,
podcast, where you're allowed to share any kind of story you want.
This is funny. This is me raising my hand, Sam.
We're done with that. The audience, they like it when we talk over each other. I'm going to interrupt you at every turn.
Yeah,
So I was 23 and I just started my sales career, and I got promoted to managing director of the Philadelphia office. And I came in, I was so excited. I was getting married the next year, and I had this gay black man, Chris Dotson. Chris was awesome. Harvard grad, fantastic, super sharp, everything, smart, intelligent. And he pulled me aside. He goes, AJ, now that you're the boss, I have to tell you something. I said, what, Chris? And he said, you can't be wearing your pleated pants that your mom freaking bought you.
Thank God. What was this guy's name? Chris Dotson. Chris is a good man. Shout out Chris, wins of the week.
He took me to Zara and H&M and all these brand new stores in 2008 that were hip and popular, and I was like, oh my goodness, there's a whole different world out there for me.
So what Sam was saying about Pavilion offering this, when I started executive search, in the business plan there was this idea of how executives don't know how to dress to interviews because tech was taking off. And so you had people that were just unsure. Do I wear shorts? Do I wear a suit? What do I wear? And a lot of people just dress really badly and it hurts them. They're technically really good, but they just dress like crap. And so I went and I got relationships with local tailors and hairdressers. And I was like, I want to send you these people and you don't want to make them look beautiful for their interviews. And so that was a thing that we were trying to do when there was a lot of in-person interviews. We had people that we could send you to and they fits your hair and your beard and your clothes and you'd look good.
I have a hot take here.
Hot take,
I have
go.
something to say. I have a couple of things to say.
All
The
right.
first thing is, dear men all over the world, if you're listening, my Camille told me this, and I've ingested it. It's become part of me. We don't want to see unless you're at the beach. We don't want to see your legs. I'm sorry. Don't wear shorts in public. Don't wear shorts. Wear shorts in a city. I don't want to see you walking around a city in shorts. Goddamn self-respect. Cover up your gnarly legs. We don't want your open-toed sandals either, unless you're at the beach. If you're at the beach, you can wear shorts and open-toed sandals. Otherwise, I don't want to see your feet. You're not allowed to wear flip-flops on dirty sidewalk city streets. You're not allowed to do that. That's disgusting. Stop it.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Stop it.
Yeah.
What was the other thing I had to say?
Welcome to Hotline After Hours.
This is what happens when we record in the evenings.
Well, there's this, there's like these Silicon Valley people, they have these very strong opinions about, like, they have taste. Paul Graham talks about how you have to have taste in the thing that in your chosen field. So they have a point of view on like what makes great code or what's like a great app. But then because they have terrible taste in clothes, they say like, well, that doesn't matter. Fashion is, fake. Basically, if I don't know about something, then it's irrelevant. And I find them anyway. So my point is, like, you're also not allowed, if you're an adult male, you're not allowed to wear Crocs in public. You're not.
Oh yeah, like, obviously not. Imagine if people attend the CRO summit in Crocs. Membership rescinded.
I was in Charlottesville for my college reunion, and I see people. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're a successful person. Anyway.
I love this. I think people, it's really interesting because how a person dresses, especially in the professional world, it actually really does matter. Because in debriefing with CEOs and investors after interviews, it comes up like when a person has bad style, and style and fashion is different, right? Like, no one's expecting you to be fashionable. It's probably not even a good thing to be fashionable, but people want individuals that have style. And style is more timeless than fashion, and they comment on it. People comment on it, and they're not trying to say, are you good looking or not? They're not trying to objectify you for your looks. What they're trying to understand is, like, why was this person looking so sloppy? And if they look this sloppy, then maybe their memos are going to be sloppy. And if their memos are sloppy, maybe the hiring process is going to be sloppy. And are we hiring a sloppy CRO? No one wants a sloppy CRO.
And to the point of the Reddit thing, this is a learnable skill. Like, this is something it's not insurmountable. It's not like there's a couple key rules where your clothes should fit. That's all. Like, we don't need more fabric than is appropriate for your body mass.
Or less.
That's true. Or less. But just the right amount of fabric.
What are you saying?
Asad and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Asad, you are like the best dressed, sharpest person. Every time I see you, you have a new coat.
Look at that.
And you have your collar sometimes pops, sometimes not, which I really style. He's got style. What are your 3 like top tips for dressing?
Just like make it fit your body and get a tailor to do that, because not everybody's lucky enough to just buy off the shelf and everything just fits perfectly, right? Like, when you see people that are really stylish, it's usually tailored. And so you can buy something, go to the tailor, and they like adjust it for you, and it looks 10 times more expensive and 100 times better. Simplify the colors, like, especially, I don't know about women, I can't give women advice, but for guys, like, you don't need a lot of the different colors. Like, you see people in very colorful clothes, red pants. Why are you wearing red pants to a conference? Like, that's scary. Like, how did you make that choice today? And so I think simple colors, stylish colors, dark blues, grays, like I like colors like that. And layer something. Like, layering is nice. Like, I like an overshirt. I like a nice jacket. I think that looks good. And shoes. Wear really nice shoes. Spend on shoes. You don't have to spend on clothes, but spend on shoes, because I've noticed that the more you spend on shoes, the better the shoe. You can tell that difference. Whereas with clothes, it's not always the case. Like, you can buy a really nice t-shirt for $50 and it'll feel as good as like a $200 t-shirt. With shoes, you can always tell.
Is it okay to wear Allen Edmonds? Am I okay with that?
Yeah.
Am I allowed to do that?
Shoes.
Yeah, but let's upgrade it.
What's the, John, I forget. We'll look it up.
Barbados.
No. No. I'll find it later. Anyway, the only thing I would add to that is like I said, monochromatic. Match the top and the bottom. Like it's just very simple. Like a garish, loud color on top is not going to go. Even now, I'm feeling a little self conscious because I've got like a gray pant and like a brown top. I don't really feel like it's great, but I just wanted to go out and get some sushi. But anyway, monochromatic. If you're not sure,
If you're currently listening to Topline on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you need to pause right now and go to YouTube. And
I
I'll
don't
make
love
fun
this
of
color,
Sam.
but I'm trying to wear
Sam, what's that
shirts
color?
that I don't want to pack on my trip.
Sam, also, that's not brown.
What is it? Would you call it olive? What would you call it?
I don't know. It's like an olivey gray. Like it's actually a very nice color, but it's not
Maybe
brown.
It's like sand. No, it's not.
Yeah, it's like a sandy color. AJ, what is that color?
Well, this is blue. My issue is because I have red complexion with a red beard.
Yeah, that looks green to me.
That's a greeny situation.
Maybe I'm colorblind.
Are you colorblind?
No,
I think that's green. That's like an aqua green.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, aqua. That's an aqua color.
Yeah. I have like 3 colors I can wear. Is my problem. I have the red complexion. I've got a lot of blues. I cannot wear red. I've got a lot of blues. A lot of
red would be
in my
bad.
wardrobe.
I think muted colors.
There was
like
this one part
pretty good. Grays and blues.
Yeah,
I love
simple.
Blue. I love a nice
simple
blue.
colors. Own 10 white t-shirts, 10 black t-shirts, like simple stuff, man. This is actually ChatGPT is super helpful with this stuff now.
I know you said
Sam,
layering, Asad, but some people go also just like, dear world, your colored undershirt, like a black undershirt on like a white or some other button shirt, like what are you doing? No.
Oh yeah,
even I know that. Even
I judge that. I judge that.
I would prefer you not, dear world. I would prefer just do a little. I mean, I need to groom this a little bit, but like I would prefer that you don't have another shirt. What I have to do is I have to manscape my my chest and my breasts because they have curly black pubic hair on them, and I can't.
I have a person for that.
I can't wear like a white. Like if I'm wearing a white shirt and you can see my black hair underneath, no good. So I got to shave it. But anyway,
my dad had so much chest hair that his shirt would stick out like a good 3 inches from his chest.
My God, that sounds like something I want to rest my head on.
And then my mom would when he fell asleep, she tried to shave it off, and he woke up mid with the blade like that. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I don't know why.
I'm going to apologize to all our women right now.
This is the market commentary people are coming for. This is what they're looking for.
Okay, fine.
We're here for it.
Fine, we can be professional.
No colored undershirts, people. We're talking about the end of Q2. AJ beating plan. He's got a new adaptability is the name of the game when it comes to QuotaPath, new product launch. It's the most adaptable commission solution you've ever heard of. That's some of the things we're talking about. I'll tell you.
I got Crossbeam. Crossbeam is the news.
Reveal.
They
Bob Moore said
French company.
What do you guys think about that one?
I think they bought it for the food, right?
I will say this. I know the VP of product very well. She was the first employee at
Crossbeam or Reveal?
Crossbeam.
At Crossbeam. Oh, yeah.
And her wife have made a lot of trips to France lately, and she is very positive on that front.
So I was looking at the company on PitchBook. It's interesting. They kind of raised half the money that Crossbeam raised, had half the valuation. So they raised $76 million in total. That last valuation was $263.75 million in March 2022. Crossbeam had raised, I think, at a similar time, but Crossbeam had raised a lot more money. Crossbeam, it says, had raised $149 million in total at a $570 million valuation.
That is
also late 2021.
That is insane.
Yeah, that's some Zerpy stuff going on. So everybody's growing into their valuations.
At that point, Crossbeam probably had $1 million in revenue.
That's ridiculous. What are you saying? Are you saying that's like a 500x valuation?
I'm saying those were different days.
That's wild. That's wild. So I think what's interesting here is that we saw the Catalyst and Totango merger, very similar type of situation. Yep. And I wonder if we lump the two words in together, mergers and acquisitions. But acquisitions aren't happening at the clip that everybody expected. And those are what really the soft landings, the softest landing is a acquisition. The second softer landing seems to be the merger, because you're not getting a lot of cash. I don't think that the Reveal team or the Catalyst team got lots of cash for that. You probably get stock in the new company, and you get to continue fighting on the mission, but in a different way. What are your thoughts on that part of it, as it being a merger, not an acquisition? Sam, what do you think? You wrote about this today.
There we go. You got a call on us. I don't think that was awkward, listeners.
This is awkward, but that wasn't.
It's going to be awkward when I ask AJ to take off his green shirt. Here's what you know what I think? You remember we've been talking about how through like maybe the beginning of 2023, founders, the investment climate, the market was ahead of where founders were or where companies were in terms of understanding and capitulating on valuation. And there were people that kept saying, 2021 is going to come back and I just got to wait it out. And then I can keep raising and, never have to worry about actually growing into a reasonable valuation or executing on business fundamentals. And I think this is a really encouraging sign that the capital, basically like everything's being priced to market, everything's being marked to market, and founders and shareholders are capitulating like, this is the reality. I have to accept it. Some outcome's better than no outcome. And I need to face the facts and continue to figure out what the best path is for success and existence. And so when I see this, I see two companies saying, I hate that phrase better together, because these partnership people just never shut up on that stupid phrase. Just say better together all the time. This is a better together story. That's what I think. I think it's cool because I think they're two people that are like, you know what? I'm going to take some dilution. It's not the outcome that I was hoping for, but we're stronger for it. We've reduced our competitive set by 50%. And now we can go to market together, combine and join forces. And we have a much better, and there are very real economies of scale. There are very real realities of Tatango had the enterprise customers, Catalyst had the more modern go-to-market motion and, better branding potentially, maybe even better product. But it was going to take years for Catalyst to penetrate the enterprise in the way that Tatango already did. I don't know about the overlapping customer base of Reveal versus Crossbeam. I just think it reflects people saying, it's not about being a billionaire and on a yacht in 2 years. It's about building a sustainable company that can navigate this environment and build great products. So I think it's a cool thing. I applaud them both.
AJ, do you think it's what Sam just said, or the naysayers might say this one of these companies was on its last leg? Usually the one that keeps its name wasn't the one on its last legs, and this was the best outcome they could have gotten, but was not the outcome that they were hoping for or would have wanted at any point in their journey. It's the medicine you got to take, because it is this or zombie land and death. Like, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, the ironic statement that Sam just made was overlap in customers, given that literally that's what those platforms do. So I would just love to see the diligence in this when they're like, well, how much customer overlap do we have? Which platform are we using? Are we using Crossbeam or Reveal to figure that out? I don't actually. Sam just got it.
I just got it. I was like, why is he such a dick? God, he's such a dick.
I was like, why is he enjoying this more? That was so good.
He's like, always making these comments about me, and I don't feel good about myself.
They're all true. Everything I say is true. So I have seen from the outside both of these companies, and Bob and I worked out of the same office in Stitch in May of 2018 when he started Crossbeam. Philly entrepreneur. I'm Philly. I've known him for a while since RJ Metrics, his previous company. We'll have him on next week. By the way, he's on vacation, so we can say whatever we want about him right now. We won't know. And also, who does a merger when you're on vacation? Like, how does that become a thing?
I think you would take a vacation right after, wouldn't you? You would do it, big thing done. You're like, okay, let me take a minute, take a breather.
Yeah. We'll ask him next week. So my take on this is not that either of these companies were zombies. I think they were both growing really quickly. Well, I would say one is growing quickly. One was maybe seeing some scale. So there's probably some level of a real merger.
Which one is which?
I think we could figure it out of real scale versus one is growing pretty quickly. The funny thing is, I'm going to admit this now because they're one company. We were Reveal customers. We are Reveal customers.
You piece
I
of
know.
Blasphemy. What?
I know.
You and Bob are from the same city. You guys are friends. You're inside partners companies.
Yeah. My head of partnerships was the officiant of the VP of product at Crossbeam's wedding. So, and he's the one that signed the contract. Graham signed the contract for Reveal.
Graham Collins?
Here's the real reason. Yeah, Graham Collins.
Graham.
Here's the reason why. One of our big partners, and I don't know if I can say anything, so if I'm under NDA, whatever. One of our big partners uses Reveal, and so we had to sign it because of Reveal. If you don't know what Reveal and Crossbeam do, they're basically double-blind spreadsheets, so you can see overlap of customers. The joke that I made earlier was literally what their tools do.
So AJ, this is like you with one of your big partners, right? Like your 4 or 5 really big partners.
Really big. Like
really big ones. Like this would be like that, right? Yeah, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Partner rhymes with Schmub Schmott, and they use Reveal.
So anyway, as I was saying, I have seen this, and I think this was very much, there's only really a couple players in the space. Why are we competing and we're spending so much money on cost of acquisition and dollars fighting head to head? It makes no sense why we would be doing that. One is international, one is US. There's a better together story. Bob had said in his LinkedIn post that he'd been working on this for a while. We can talk to him next week about that. Here's my take. Hot take.
Yeah.
Reveal's a French company. Does anyone know anything about French employment law?
It's like Catholic marriage. Once you're in, you're in. There's no getting out.
To fire people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to be the interesting thing of like, how do you handle an acquisition or a merger or whatever? And you're now 200 people and maybe you're like burning a lot of cash and you do need to make like adjustments. How does that work?
Oof.
It's difficult.
Yeah, how does that work? Because the whole point of the merger is to be able to find efficiencies by like cutting a bunch of people out, right? Yeah. Wow, that's such an interesting point. The other part of this, Sam, I wonder what your thoughts are on multiples here, right? Because there's obviously a little bit of growing into valuations that has to happen across the ecosystem. I just bought a bunch of Rubrik stock. Check this company out. 56 million in ARR. 120% net revenue retention, growing at 47%. I'm burning a bunch of capital, but look at that company's performance. And I bought them at a 7.6x multiple. And so if this company in the public markets is at 7.6, is 10 even possible for these high growth companies? Like what advice are you giving people in terms of how to think about their valuations and how much more growing into these, like general thoughts on valuations at this point?
My general thought on valuation is don't worry about your valuation and try to build the best possible company regardless. So yeah, I have no idea how this deal was structured. Is 10 times ARR realistic? Maybe at Series A or Series B. It really depends on your growth rate. But honestly, what we've seen from Jamin Ball and what we've seen all over the place is, 5 times, 6 times if you're lucky. And you were asking AJ before, is this the desired outcome? Is this what people are looking for? And I think this is why I think it's like a sign of growth in the ecosystem, maturity. It's like, I don't know if it's a desired, but like I said, maybe in 2021, we all thought like, no, Asad, you're going to be on my yacht. I'm not going to your yacht. You're going to be on my yacht. And now all of us are saying, it's not about that. It's about building something that lasts, that has durability, that I enjoy doing. And if that's the job, then the money will come one way or the other when it comes. And I think that that's a really positive indication. So that I think that probably wasn't like the valuation that any of them were hoping for, but I think that there is multiple arbitrage on just, I don't know what their revenues were, but a $20 million business is worth more than, obviously, but I'm saying, if you get two $10 million businesses, those added, the valuations added together are less than the single value of one $20 million business because you get the benefit of being at larger scale.
What I'm hearing you say, Sam, is that people are excited about company building. And the co-founder of Reveal took on the COO role. Oh. And that is probably the story of Better Together, of like, as organizations, they're excited about going and building a really big business and a profitable and efficient growth business.
I like that over the co-CEO model, to be honest. So that's what the catalyst to Tandro one was, co-CEO, right? That seems like a soft landing for one person. And
let's just talk trash about the co-CEO model again. I still hear from a couple people who are like, man, you had a co-CEO on, and then as soon as he left, you all just...
We keep it honest. I looked into the co-CEO history last week, actually. I can only find one instance of it working well, which is Netflix. And Netflix is a very nuanced business where Netflix has a technology business and a content business. And so they have a co-CEO. They have the co-CEO model where one runs content, the other runs technology. And based on the enterprise value they've created, you have to say it's working well, and they've been able to maintain it even after Reed Hastings stepped down and the old COO, who used to be the chief product officer, became the new co-CEO. Netflix is really the only company I found that had a successful model. Salesforce had fell apart.
Wait, is Reed the other co-CEO?
He was the co-CEO, and then he stepped down. He's done.
So now there's two other co-CEOs?
Yeah, there's the Ted Sarandos, who was the co-CEO with Reed Hastings, and then this other guy, I forget his name. It's literally the only example.
People love him.
What were you saying?
I said people
love Reed Hastings. Reed Hastings is great.
They love Ted Sarandos.
Yeah, well, look at what they've done. Look at what they've done, right?
It's really cool.
It's a very cool business.
Are you ready to revolutionize the way your team goes to market? Join us from October 14th to 16th in Austin, Texas for GTM 2024, the premier B2B SaaS conference where the world's top go-to-market executives learn, plan, and execute strategies that fuel growth. Expect 3 days packed with interactive sessions and panels addressing top-of-mind challenges, hands-on planning and forecasting workshops for 2025, and of course, plenty of networking opportunities. Whether you come alone or bring your entire leadership team, you'll find valuable insights and dedicated time to prepare for the year ahead. And be sure to stick around Austin for GTM 2024 awards, celebrating the top leaders in our industry. Ready to get a line and get ahead? Visit joinpavilion.com/GTM 2024 and use the code Topline for 15% off your ticket. Details are in the show notes. Hope to see you in Austin.
Okay, so we're going to do this quarterly wrap-up thing at the end of every quarter. Seems like a nice tradition to begin. So let's talk about, I guess, lessons and reflections on the past quarter. Sam, as you reflect on the last 3 months, what are your thoughts? Well, what's a lesson/key takeaway, a principle, or something that you really want to hold on to based on the experience of the last 90 days?
This is a more recent reflection. I have maybe 2 or 3. The first is the value of, Jeff Bezos used to talk about be stubborn on the vision, flexible on the details. And we've been executing effectively a plan that we laid out in December through the second quarter. And fundamentally, the plan is working. And we're seeing improvements. We're not out of the woods yet, but we're seeing improvements in retention. We're seeing a 2-year high in Net Promoter Score. And we've made a tremendous amount of progress across the business over the first 6 months of the year. So the first thing is try to avoid the thrash of constantly pushing and pulling into new strategic directions. It takes time for a formation and a foundation to settle so that you can build on top of it. And once you do that, you can succeed. I also think, relatedly, it's nice to set a goal. I know that there's a counter argument about sandbagging or about setting targets that are too low, but I think beating your numbers is a really good thing. And we've beaten our numbers the first half of the year. And that was not the case last year. And the reason is because these numbers are increasingly built on the way the world actually is, not on wishful thinking and crossing your fingers and saying, well, we have to grow, so I guess this is what the number has to be. It has to be a reflection of the fundamental business dynamics. And then the last thing I'll say, and this is, what I talked to the team about today. I think what's interesting to me is that there are so many pieces of a company that we can go into a meeting and say, these are our goals. And then you go out of that meeting and you think you're being in alignment, and you haven't zoomed out and said, how is this organization designed? And how have we staffed each team? Because that is you voting with your dollars. And if you say that XYZ is the goal, but only 1/3 of the company is working on XYZ, then by definition, XYZ cannot be the goal, or you're not going to achieve the goal because you aren't investing against that idea. And so that's been really, really interesting for me to think about recently, because I think we talk about, if I'm going to say that Net Promoter Score, member experience, and retention are the number one KPIs for Pavilion, then we should be spending 65 cents out of every dollar on membership experience, Net Promoter Score, and retention. And that's not true today. And so I think that's really interesting. That doesn't mean we're doing anything wrong. It just means that you have to, I can't control what people, what I've been listening to, by the way, is like you guys got me on this Founders podcast. So I'm like binging different episodes. And he's always, whatever the guy's name is, I forget, but he's talking about Charlie Munger and the power of incentives. David. And I love that I have no idea what he looks like, by the way. Because he could look like anything. Like he could be.
Which side note, by the way, everyone that I know is like, oh, I saw Sam. Sam did not look like what I was expecting. From I don't know how to take that. If that's
was it like a positive? Like was it like he wasn't looking like or was it like a negative? What was it?
Are objectively attractive, but Sam is sexy. Like he's a sexy.
I liked where he went with that. I like
what Sam goes to bed thinking about every night.
That's it. This is what coaches help us do. Positive affirmations. I like it.
Anyway, my point is that my point is that we can't control a lot as CEOs. There are people doing their work on a day-to-day basis, and we can't inspect every single thing that everybody does. But we can control incentives. And we can control targets. And that's something that I'm going to take with me into the second half of the year.
Oof, I like that one. Capital allocate. I think the allocation of resources is literally the job. Like literally the job. You can just one-liner, all CEO job descriptions should just have that. And so one of the things I find really annoying these days is if I ever meet a founder who says, culture is our number one priority, it rubs me the wrong way. I think that person will never be a good CEO when I hear that. And I know that there are a lot of people that will hear this and think I'm a lunatic, but that one's really rubbing me the wrong way because it's not your number one job. Your number one job is allocation of resources. Everything else comes secondary to that. AJ, what are your general thoughts on what Sam just said?
We should do more late night top lines, by the way. We have such good content.
This is good stuff here. This is
just annoying with life, right? Like let it out.
I told you guys.
We're gonna unlock all the secrets. You both are right, and the capital allocation sticks with me. I think what Sam said, just in terms of flexible on the details, rigid in that big picture. But at the end of the day, this is it's so hard. Yes, we had a good quarter. And I think what you're saying in terms of making and setting expectations and hitting those expectations helps unlock the opportunity to invest further in the business. And what I've found, I always used to think that was a board thing. Like, oh, if we hit financial target, we can go invest in these other things. No, that's an operator thing. If I go out and do this thing and say I'm going to do it, it gives me the confidence that, I can further stretch myself and think further out and be more proactive in what I am trying to do and do the business and have the confidence to go say, hey, I don't have to worry about this part of the business. It's being taken care of. I'm now thinking about the strategic opportunities. At the beginning of the year, we talked a lot about M&A opportunities. There's two sides that you can be on. We talked about this earlier. You have the being acquired and acquiring. Which side do you both want to be on for that? Which side?
Of course, the acquiring. I never want to be acquired. I will dig my heels in and not get acquired.
So how do you get there? You get there.
Not be acquired.
No, Asad, you have.
When they give me a call, I hang up. I'm like, go away. I think you have to listen. I'm in a nuanced situation. This is my craft. I want to do it till I'm done. And so if somebody buys this company out of my hands, I'm going to do the same thing again because I really like what I do. And I like living my life doing things that I enjoy doing. And so I don't want to go do something else. I want to do this. And so somebody taking this away from me is taking my craft away from me. And I'll just go start the same thing, doing it again. I think that's just this unique thing. Put it to the side. But I think a lot of people want to be there are people that fall on either sides of it. There's some people that are in it for an acquisition. Like there are a lot of friends of mine that are building a company for $50 to $100 million outcome, and that outcome is an acquisition. There's nothing else to it, and I think that's totally fine.
Yeah, well, look, this time last year I was in a hospital. I had really big challenges with my heart, and I was writing the board of like, I don't, my strengths are these things, big picture, but I don't think I'm enjoying operating the business today. I'm just not. And like, if you're the CEO and you're not enjoying the operating the business, that's okay. It sucks to say that. It's okay. But the reality is that I today, a year later, am very much enjoying it. And things change fast. So there's a lot of people out there that are maybe not having and there's always problems. Where startups are always a dumpster fire in some way. People, process, competitors, customers. There's always more challenges. There are more problems than there are solutions. We all know that. The three of us have had this podcast for over a year because of the weekly problems and challenges that we're coming up against. The weekly people problems, the weekly competitive problems, the weekly venture problems, the weekly board problems, the weekly KPI problems, the weekly cash crunch problems. Come on, there's so many problems. But at the end of the day, we love what we do because these problems, we know we can solve them. We know we are capable of solving them. We are going to go do that and go figure that out. And we don't need CEO coaches to tell us to do that. We don't need each other to tell us to do that. We know we have it in us to do it. So if you're out there and you're like, this quarter sucked, this was miserable, there's July 1st. Wake up July 1st and change your... Go ahead.
I really like what AJ just said. I think when you think about it in sports, like if you were going to play against a team and you had a choice between playing against somebody who's lost the last 5 games versus won the last 5 games, you'll choose the team that's losing because their morale is down. I think companies are similar. Like when you hit your number over and over again, part of what you unlock is this morale, this energy in the organization because people feel like winners, and so it's not just all the operational. I think it's at the people level, like the people feel like this is a winning organization. And I don't think you should have easy targets because people are not silly. They understand if the target was too easy. But I think if you have reasonable targets and they get hit, that's great for morale and that's great for the energy.
Tying into something Sam said earlier about we had a launch today, and Sam nailed the messaging. I like just coached him. I coached him and Asad before this call. I was like, hey,
you had it like 5 times in the investor email. And I was like, all right, this guy wants me to say adaptability. I'm say adaptability.
We are the most adaptive commission software on the planet right now.
I use commission software every day, and I'm so frustrated with the lack of adaptability until today. Today, I installed the new QuotaPath operating system, and by gum, this thing is adaptable. I wanted it to run with me. It took a jog with me. I said, you're a little cold. I want you to be a little warmer. It's adaptable. It opened up its personality. It smiled more. I said,
we don't need a brought to you by. We don't need a
Can Spiff do that?
This episode of Topline is brought to you by.
It's brought to you by QuotaPath. The new system, the new standard for adaptability.
I'm glad this hotel has good internet, so I can catch all of these things. Like where I'm in Austin.
I'm helping you out here. Are you out there calculating commissions and not using QuotaPath? If so, why?
What are you, unadaptable human being?
Enough.
Bad at their jobs.
Your stupid
My point
spreadsheet with errors in it. got errors in your spreadsheet. Not QuotaPath. QuotaPath's adaptable. You piece of
If you were out there and you're like, I hated episodes where they talk over each other, this episode is
This
not
isn't the
for
one for you.
you.
Sorry,
If
guys.
you love the banter and you think, oh, Sam, Asad, and AJ are at a bar hanging out with each other, then you
This
will
is
love
it.
this episode.
These
This
are
is
three
episode
men
for you.
that do
I think
not
once
like
a
each
month
other.
we're going to do late night episodes. We're drinking, we're having fun. This is like
We're
Tim
doing-
Ferriss has the random show. We're going to do this.
Asad had to go off camera for a second. Asad,
Yeah.
why did you have to go off camera?
I just had to go. I needed a charger or something. I needed to figure something out.
My point being,
Tell us about
hold on,
adaptability. Why adaptability?
But my point being is, if you we hit financial target last week. If you hit financial targets, these type of launches feel much more meaningful for the company. At least in my point of view, is there's like kind of that weight off of like, here's the next milestone. Here's what we're going to go after achieve. Adaptability. The biggest frustration in commission and comp and anything is that you set a course. Sam, Asad, you both have comp plans.
Yes,
How
we
many
do.
times have you changed? How many times have you changed them?
Very
Not often enough. Not often enough.
Yeah,
Right.
So
Every
you
few
have-
months.
I'm scared to change them. I'm scared to change
Why?
them because this. I'll tell you why. Because the systems
You
that
own this
we use-
company, Sam. You can do what you want.
the systems that we used to do commissions prior to QuotaPath were really rigid and inflexible, and what I craved was some level of adaptability. Until today. Thank
What you all don't know is Sam has another monitor sitting next to him. I'm like texting him the phrases that he needs.
AJ sent the email last night. Sam woke up
Listen.
and changed the comp plans. Now it's adaptable.
I'm not.
What
can I
I'm
say
gonna go-
something? I'm going to say this.
Yes.
I'm not. I'm actually not. It's very weird. There's it's a psychological distance, an aversion to. I'm not kidding, to changing the comp plan, because I'm like I perceive there to be so many like ramifications, implications. The woman
Downstream.
Samantha that's running it, I don't want to mess with her. I'm already scared that there's errors. Who's going to stress test these comp plans and make sure they actually make sense for the business? That's a whole body of work that I'm worried about. So it is, whether or not the word's inflexible or not. Yeah. I and at the same time, I'm like,
It's
I'd like,
scary.
we're talking about usage-based pricing for our corporate business. And one of our customer success or account managers will say, well, I'm gold on net revenue retention. And the answer is, okay, we got to build a comp plan that has usage-based pricing in it. And, I haven't done that before. I don't know how to do that. And I kind of want to say, I also don't have the data points to say this is an experiment. So like, can we just do it? And you trust me that I'll like pay you? But all of that is the perception, the fear of change. It's the fear of the FOFU, as Kathleen said last week.
I know this. I know this because Sam, I texted you when you brought us on at the beginning of the year, like, oh, we saw this mistake, and you're immediate, like, where was the mistake? Who did it? What happened? I was like, oh, whoa.
I asked Samantha about it immediately. And she said, oh, well, it wasn't a mistake.
Samantha
That was their
doesn't exist.
mistake.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jason.
That's the funny thing with commissions is very interesting. It's always this, and this isn't anything with Pavilion. This is just in general. People just want to finger point in general, especially when it comes to dollars going out of the business. If you're a founder, CEO, and you see we found a mistake last year from a customer onboarding. I'm not even kidding. $75,000 mistake.
Wow.
$75,000 mistake. That
I'm
had
sure that
happened
happens
6 months prior.
all the time. All the time.
Guess
I
what
get
our
an
contact
email.
said?
I get an email saying, approve these commissions. I'm like, okay. What do you want
Do
me
you
to
even
do?
look at the numbers? It's just like,
Like, I look at it and I'm
darn.
like, God, that sucks. I wish we didn't pay Aaron that much.
So here's
Then I'm
the
like,
rub.
I don't want to trade the money that he brings, and that's fine. Good for him. Good for him. It's like a whole.
So with QuotaPath and the most adaptable software out there, you now have multi-level approvals where Sam Jacobs is no longer the only approver. So someone else that's actually paying attention can pay. I'm just kidding. No,
I can't believe you guys get these approvals to do. Okay, so AJ, let's try to uncover an operational
I'm talking about your stupid product launch, AJ.
this is the anti-ad right now.
Let's have an operational
Transitioning
insight.
to a new topic. Nobody cares.
how did you figure out adaptability? What's the process? So you spoke to X amount of customers, like, because you based so much of this on that word, and it's a really interesting word. And I wonder if there's a lesson in here for other SaaS companies that have we moved into a world where things are less predictable. Right? Like interest rates are not low. They're changing, they're evolving. There's just a lot of variables in the air. And so here, customers need to flexibility and nimbleness, which means products need to offer adaptability. Like, walk us through your thinking here.
I want to offer a hypothesis, and then I want to hear it because I want to see if I'm right. When I heard adaptability, what I thought, first thing is like, what a weird word. Like, who cares? And then the second thing I thought was it must be a word that's specific to the persona. It must be like the feedback, like I bet RevOps and enablement people and finance people that calculate commissions, I bet it resonates and lands much more with them than with me. Is that true, AJ?
Yes, it is true. And it is unique enough where the words flexible, which are overused, the words adjustable, which are overused, but adaptable is not overused. We felt like there was an ownership opportunity. So let me zoom out for a second and not make this all about QuotaPath, but make it more about like, what can you all, dear listener, learn from launches and how can they go well? And it remains to be seen. Like, this is a little bit of an experiment for us. First and foremost, we hear so much from customers on how Sam like literally just gave the blueprint to what we hear. People are afraid to make adjustments to their comp plans, especially during the year, especially mid-quarter. They don't know if something's going to work or not. They're afraid of there's just like rigidness around predictability of revenue is really important. And once you set a quota or you set a target, like that has to stay there for the sales team, but it doesn't stay there for the company. And so adaptive to me really speaks to the persona of like, how can that RevOps, that finance leader meet on the strategic level of that adaptability that's happening at the board level for targets, but not happening on the rigidness of compensation. So that was like one part of it. What I will say adaptability is that we as QuotaPath employees, we as startup employees, if you're out there, you have to live through so much adaptive thinking in the last 2 years that it is crazy how much on a daily basis we go through. Sam, by the way, are you over there just playing with the titles of our names? If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see
what I'm doing? You know what I'm doing? I'm testing the adaptability.
Or you're raising your hand. So if you're not watching YouTube, we have these little titles where you can actually edit your title below. I
it looks like Pavilion right now.
Yeah,
this is the boss right before.
Let me just say to the launch, here's what my point is. I think there is Steve Jobs, simple messaging, any speech you listen to, he says the thing like 18 times.
Yeah.
And Sam just changed his title to the right title, which is executive assistant to AJ. Yeah, which I really appreciated. And that is what really resonates to me is like, it doesn't stop here. Today's our launch day, but I have to be able to take that and run with it and make sure I'm consistent with the team, with the company. And that's what really resonated well with me is I said it a lot and it did sound exactly what Sam said. I was like, this is kind of silly. It's unique. It's an opportunity. I heard so much about, I'll say their names, Spiff, and failed onboardings when they got hired, when Salesforce bought them.
Because Spiff sounds like stiff, and stiff doesn't sound like adaptable, right?
And stiff is not adaptable. So
I know one thing about Spiff, it's that they are rigid and inflexible.
A tough situation there.
We call them the stiff spiffs. The spiffy stiffs. The stiffy spiff tiff. We only had one glass of wine, everybody.
I'm framing this episode. I don't know how to frame episodes, but I am absolutely taking this episode and playing it
and sending it to them.
This is my Tony Robbins positive affirmation tape for me is just Sam over and over. And then Sam's executive assistant to AJ playing underneath.
Let me try to bring this again to like some operational insights. So that's interesting. You spoke to people and you realized that their challenge was rigidness, and there were a couple of words floating around that would address it, and all of them had been used, but this one hadn't. And it makes people think, because you are like, oh, adaptable. What does he mean? And it makes you think. Sam, when you think of a launch, because you've done a bunch as well, and AJ has just done his, what does success look like with a launch? Like, what are you expecting on day 130, 90? Like, what does success look like when either of you are doing things like this?
That's a great, fantastic question, Asad. I think the first day you're looking for some level of awareness that can be measured in impressions, that could be measured in press mentions, that could be measured in reach of some kind. And then after that, just dramatically lower your expectations. And success looks like, seriously, like success looks like people, some small number of people trying your new product or your new experience and building it over time. Oh, that's nice, AJ. AJ says that he's my best friend. I have many best friends, and AJ is indeed one of them. So I guess I'm giving a stupid answer to your question, but I get my point is like my experience with launches is that they tend to be underwhelming, and you build up all this energy and momentum, and sometimes they capture something and it's exciting. I mean, we changed the name from Revenue Collective to Pavilion. That was a really big deal. And it played out over time. And of course, some people immediately emailed me and told me what a stupid decision they thought that was. But my point is like the hard work starts after the launch of just like, chop wood, carry water. Like it's not about 60, 90. It's about the rest of time. It's about, okay, QuotaPath released a bunch of new functionality. Time to make sure that the MAUs over, DAUs over MAUs are going up, and that they're issuing more commission payments, and that they're getting more traction with their customers. And that's not measured even over 60 or 90. That's measured over the next 2 years. So I think that's the one thing. Go ahead.
Is it that, the idea of lightning strikes, the Play Bigger, Christopher Lockhead idea that all of our ecosystem loves to talk about lightning strikes. Is it possible to have a real lightning strike unless you're a really big company? Like, is it just wishful thinking that any of us at like 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 million in revenue can have a lightning strike? Like, maybe it's just what you said. You have a little bit of energy initially, and after that, it fizzles out. And really what you're going to see is it helping us convert more people eventually into customers? Because it's rare to hear of like anything that 3x to pipeline for a company. A lightning strike done well, I would imagine 3x is a pipeline or 2x is it. Never really heard of anyone's campaign doing that. What are your thoughts when you hear that, AJ?
I read Play Bigger multiple times, and I fell in love with lightning strikes at the time, and the Salesforce Benioff like stampeding a conference, Siebel conference, and getting arrested or whatever, like that. People romanticize that, Asad. But in today's world, with social media where it is, and with the amount of noise that we have out there, are lightning strikes really possible? The amount of companies? I think it's BS. I don't believe in lightning strikes.
I think the lesson to take from lightning strikes is coordinate your messaging. The one thing that, the essence of it for me is don't do 50 different things. That you have to pick a small number of things and concentrate your resources, your attention, and your energy around them. Instead of thinking that there's like, and now this, and now that, and now this message, and now that. So
I think Apple can do a lightning strike. I think Google does lightning strikes. I don't think any Series A, B, or C company does lightning strikes. I think it's just gone. It's not possible. Like it doesn't seem realistic. Sam, as we review or we think about this past quarter, you spoke about some of your lessons from it. What's your outlook for Q3? What are you thinking Q3 is going to shape up like?
Well, I think
more of the same.
What I think is that Pavilion actually has a seasonal business, and that summers are slow, and that things pick up in the fall as we head towards our big conference. And I think, I guess I don't think there's going to be like some marked improvement in the second half of the year. But I guess the nice thing for us, last year was spent, making sure that we took the necessary steps in order to live to fight another day and to shore up and build the foundation. And as we look to the second half of the year, the interesting thing is now our forecasts, because we do these rolling, 5 and 6 month cash forecasts, our forecasts now include, December and January. So now we can comp year over year on a baseline basis post GTM and post our reorganization from last fall. And so it's pretty encouraging, I have to say. So I think things are going to be okay. I think the economy, I want to say that 2025 is going to be a really good year, but I also, random takeaway is my other thought from my business. Like sometimes, we're sitting here comparing Pavilion to QuotaPath and to STA, and Pavilion is really definitionally not software. And I think one of the mistakes I've made over the years is trying to associate too many software go-to-market motions with a community business. Because I think that the more I talk about growth, the slower we grow. And it sounds like I'm being tongue-in-cheek, but this is a business that is word of mouth driven. And the more you invest in growth for its own sake, the more that you contaminate the experience that people have, because every new member that joins is a product experience. And the more that you just focus on retention and improving the quality of the experience and the quality of the people in the community, the more you will grow. But it's a strange judo or reverse psychology or Buddhist approach to it, which you can only grow by not growing. Like you can only, the only growth that will happen will be from removing it from the conversation and only focusing on product satisfaction, which I think is, there are corollaries in other products, but it's never quite so correlated as in a human-based community business.
We share this commonality in our businesses, because I think in our business as well, if you grow too quickly, the delivery quality diminishes, because we're a craft business, and there is just a pace at which you can develop new craftspeople. And if you want to be really, really good at this, then you have to keep that at the back of your mind, which essentially puts a control rate on your growth. And last year, that might not have been much of a concern, but now we're actually at the point where we could grow faster than we're going to grow because we have more demand than we can satisfy. But we just have to keep reminding ourselves that we want to be the best in the world at this. We don't need to be that tomorrow, but we need to be there. We need to get there and be undeniable and maintain that spot. And so we have to be measured. AJ, this is so different to your business.
Well, I have a question for you both, because it is. You all have had periods where you probably aren't the proudest of your services, your business, and you have had customers, maybe it's the beginning of the business or whatever, and you've had customers that have churned, but they're probably better customers today. And I wonder if do you all go back to those customers to try to bring them back in when the service has changed? Like, how do you think about churn customers and coming back after a couple years? Like for software, it evolves. It's easier to say, hey, look, we released this new thing. It's going to fit you now. But for services business, like for you all, is that something you all think about?
AJ, I don't think about churn this way, because like my business is more like divorce lawyers. Like I think we're firefighters. And
which is only the third time that you've brought up divorce lawyers on this show.
They're stylish people. I think I want to be the best firefighting team in the world for this particular craft, which means just every time I get to know a new customer, it's not Catholic marriage. You have a problem and I want to step in. I want to fix that problem. And sometimes we're going to do it over the period of time where we're doing it might be short, long, whatever. But I'm not obsessed with signing people up for multi-year contracts, etc. Because the problem that we solve, that we charge a lot of money for, and we've built a very profitable business solving, sometimes they need us and sometimes they don't. And so I don't think of churn that way. Like, I don't think that just because we worked with somebody in Q1 and we fixed their problem and now we're not working with them in Q2 or even next year, that's such a big problem. Like, I don't get so sad about that. One of the things we have had to really think about or like broaden our thoughts around is sometimes we'll have a bad experience with a client, and that bad experience stays top of mind for a long time. But companies evolve, people change, people evolve. And so we had this one customer billion in revenue. First time we worked with them, amazing. 6-figure engagement, super profitable. Everybody loved it. Second time, disaster. Everybody hated it. They were a mess. And this was like, they were really a mess this time. They came back third time to me. And so I went to the leader who was in charge of it the first 2 times. I was like, they're back. It looks like a big engagement. He's like, no, I don't want to do this. I'm burnt. And so I went to another leader who was like, yeah, I'm all over it. And it was the most profitable and the largest engagement of 2022, I think, at the time. And so we just have to keep reminding ourselves that things evolve and be open-minded.
Sam, do you think about it similarly to Asad?
I know. So the first, when we started, if you canceled your Revenue Collective membership, you were not allowed to rejoin ever. It was a lifetime cancellation.
I like that.
I liked it too. I like it now. And now, this is the whole point that I was making about community as like an investment vehicle. Like, does community respond to growth capital? And the funny thing is, like, community has a resistance, like an inherent stubborn obstinance to growth capital. And so the more you make it easier to sign up, the more self-serve you have, the more people treat you transactionally, and they view coming in and out of Pavilion as a short-term transaction. And I want to build a tribe of people over years. And so mainly I want to make it more and more difficult to become a member over time. We're not going to, and there, the team has these ideas about, we'll have tiers, and there'll be a junior, a cheap version where you can get the content. But if you want it, but the community itself will be invite only. There will be a wall, like you'll have to qualify over time. And we're going to be, and that's just working backwards from like an 18-month vision. But my point is, like, for example, right? Let me tell you a great little story. So I'm up for renewal for my YPO membership, and Kiva has recruited me to join his chapter, Kiva Kolstein. And so YPO has, anyway, so everybody renews, by the way, everybody in YPO land renews on the same time. So everybody renews in June, which is really interesting. So
no matter when you join?
No matter when you join, June is renewal month for YPO. So right now, and even the process of moving from Atlas, which is the virtual chapter, into Neo, which is the chapter that my friend Justin Abrams and Kiva are in, is an interview process. I had to interview with the chapter chairs. I had to go to 2 events and talk to them before they formally extended me an invitation, even though they have revenue targets and they want to grow the Neo chapter. It's a relatively new chapter, but I had to interview and I had to wait for an invitation. I finally got the invitation. So understand right now, if I left YPO, I could not rejoin. I'm over 45. You have to be under 45 when you join. If you let your membership lapse, you're in trouble. And nobody told me the initiation, and each chapter has an initiation fee. So I've already paid an initiation fee for Atlas, but I got another bill, which was the initiation fee for Neo. The total bill was $16,000. And
what?
Yeah.
This is
and I'm going to pay
society?
it. I'm going to pay it. And I'm going to.
I think this, Sam. What's the value? So, what are you getting out of this membership, other than like you as a community person should be involved in other communities to see the good and the bad?
That's a big reason.
That's what you're paying for. Yeah,
I'm paying for that. Listen, I'm paying for that, and candidly, again, this is an aspiration. Carly, I know you're listening. I love you. We can do this. We can do this with Pavilion. I'm paying for the optionality. If I leave, I can't get back in. What if tomorrow I go to an event and I meet Rex Tillerson, or I meet Sheryl Sandberg, or I meet, I don't know. YPO is the non-tech, it's 35,000 people, all of whom are fairly important, and most of whom are not in tech. So like there's all kinds of different relationships you can build that I won't have access to if I cancel my membership. And it's not a thing where I can just go online and pay $275 and rejoin to take CRO school. So that was just a long answer to your question, AJ, but I do think it's a very interesting question. And my goal is to raise the gate, is to have a Pavilion affiliate membership that, if you want to read content and surf around, you can do that. But I want the community to be tough to get into, and expensive probably, where people are like, yeah, I can't really cancel because they're not going to let me back in.
I love the idea of you bringing that back. I didn't know that because, of course, I've never canceled my membership.
Thank you. You've been a great member.
unlike QuotaPath, it's not adaptable. You can't adapt.
It's not adaptable.
But I do think I remember, Sam, when people from my team, because CEOs couldn't join, people from my team joined, they had to have this form that they filled out that was like a reference form that you had to fill out and say, here's who I was referred by. And then they went to that reference. You actually talked to that person to make sure that
we used to have membership. We used to have chapter-based interview committees where Asad would meet with somebody and then they'd write up their notes. Be like, I met with Asad today. I vote yes to let him in. Here's what I thought about him. And did everybody get in?
I love that stuff.
They no, not everybody got in, especially because there's a lot of
Sam,
domineering.
Early on, you said no to a couple of CROs, I remember, and I remember I was just getting to know Sam. Like, this is when Revenue Collective was like 200 members. His deck at the time used to have those stats around Series A to B failure that I quoted for 3 years and then found that Sam just made them up.
I didn't make them up. I mean, they were approximately correct. They
were actually, I Googled it. They were approximately correct. They actually were. But I remember introducing you to a couple of people and they missed a call or something, and you used to just call it. You're like, nope, they won't be in.
Done.
And it was it's such a sharp thing to have done, because I was like, this is gangster. Like, this is great. People want to be part of places like this. AJ, what's your outlook for Q3?
I, like Sam, also have a seasonality business. And what I found from this launch is it's a milestone. We have many milestones to go. And if I can work backwards from the end of the year on what those milestones are and hit those expectations, it will be a successful year. So my outlook for QuotaPath is positive because, like Sam had said, I feel like the targets are achievable. And once we do that, that unlocks the investment and we'll see the signals to continue and further invest. I think what I said at the beginning of the year, what I said last year, is what we're going to see and accelerate. The M&A activity is going to very much accelerate at the end of this year.
For QuotaPath?
I just think
the
M&A in general.
Oh, sorry. I was like, wow, like very, very transparent.
You heard it here first.
Very transparent moment right there.
You made the interesting point, Asad, mergers versus just M&A. And I think I agree. I think there's a lot. I've been in I had one today, lots of conversations, people saying, do you want to join forces? Do you want to join up? It's usually some
I had one today.
Finicky founder where I'm like, I don't know if I want to work for that person. I don't think they want to work for me. Well, I think it's time for shout outs.
Austin's already told me I'm never allowed to work for him. So he can't hire me. I'm not trying to be hired as a CRO.
First of all, the three of us, we can do partnership deals together, but none of us is working for the other. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, it's never going to happen. Okay, shout outs. Who's going first?
Of the week. You go first, Asad.
Let me shout out Rome, because we've been on it for two.
It's enough. Sorry? It's enough with the Rome shout out.
No, I haven't shouted it out before.
Oh, you haven't?
I told people I was buying it. So now I'm 2 weeks in. So I want to give people an update in terms of what's working, what's not. Our hypothesis was that it would drive connectivity, not as much as in person, but more than Slack and Zoom combined as your office space. And there definitely is. Like, I was worried that people that were a lot older and whose adoption of other technologies wasn't good, I was worried for them. And I thought it might create like some silos. Strangely, they've adopted it even faster and better than the younger generation, and they've reached out and said that it has a lot of, it's making them feel more connected. So I'm quite impressed with that. It was very easy onboarding. I think when we buy things and we onboard and we take part in that experience, I think there's a lot to learn as operators that we can then implement in our own businesses. And I think their onboarding was quite seamless and the adoption has been quite good. And so shout out to them, because 2 weeks in, I'm a very happy customer who has less emails, messages, and Slack messages going around. And that makes me happier. So shout out to them.
I did a demo of Rome today. It was
pretty cool. Huh?
Yeah, it's good. I'm going to I'm reserving judgment on it so far.
Hmm.
I think it's a very ambitious software. Take on
will
Slack,
say,
chat, Zoom, all of it, replacing everything. We'll
I
see.
also think that it's highly dependent on how useful it'll be based on how you adopt it. Like, you can't just buy it and it's going to work well. It might actually be a net negative. Like, your adoption strategy is really important. And I also think that if a company is too large, like 100 plus employees, I think it gets much trickier to get value out of it the same way. So I think
That's a
there
good
are
point.
nuances to this. It's not there for everyone.
I'll go next. I'm going to shout out a few people from our Topline Slack channel, Kevin Williams and Arik Dreyer. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Arik. They gave us some good feedback on our most recent episodes, and we just appreciate your listenership. Thanks to everybody that's in that Slack channel. It's a great little community that's forming, and you can tell we're getting to know the people. I'm getting to know Ryan Burke. I'm getting to know Charlie Moss, Jesse Shipman, although she's been a little bit more quiet recently. But it's a cool place to hang out. There's 281 people in that channel right now. We hope you'll join us in there.
281.
Not bad. Not bad.
That's not nothing. Like, or considering how much the three of us promote all these things, like, which is like very little, that's not nothing. Cool.
We got something going here.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go next.
Yeah. Well, you were the last one. Yes, you guessed right.
So I have to give a shout out to my team for building the most adaptive commission software that's ever existed. Asad loves it. He loves it. Sam, not so much.
I love it. No, I do love it. I'm just hitting my time to.
My shout out to I haven't given you both a shout out in a while, but I truly love this. I love this episode. I think there's so much good feedback and content. We should do more late night top lines. It's so good. It's so good. We're in our elements at this time of night. So yeah, shout out to you guys. Shout out to all our listeners. Shout out to the world, to all the people, just everyone.
Shout out to
that's what
Abraham,
a person with a good launch feels like. Shout out to the world.
Shout out to the world.
Okay.
All right, folks. Listen to us on Thursday for Topline Hotline. Give us 5 stars in the store. Topline newsletter. You reading that? Asad's putting a lot of time into it. Please read it. And join our Slack channel. A lot of good content. If you need more content, we're content creators here. We are creators of content. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on Thursday.
This episode was brought to you by AirCall, the business communications intelligence platform. Deliver a better experience for your customers and your teams at AirCall. That's AIRCALL.io. Save time, save money, and improve performance with a single communications platform.
Thanks for listening to Topline. New episodes come out every Sunday. If you like what you heard today, subscribe so you never miss an episode, leave a 5-star review, and share it with your friends. Don't forget to join our Topline Slack channel to connect with us and discuss the topics we cover with other listeners. Click the link in the show notes. Lastly, if you're interested in joining Pavilion, you can learn more about membership at joinpavilion.com/membership. Thanks again for listening.